Hey, welcome to Tootie Talk Sense. Now, how's y'all day going today? We did not rain today over here in the Chicagoland area. Thank you for that. Thank you, God, Mother Nature, whoever you want to thank you. Also, we didn't my sinuses is still jacking me up, but here I is, here I is, here I go. So yesterday when I was on here, I told you I was waiting for the what was it called? Liberation Day. So I go live at 4, and I believe that's the same time that Trump did his speech about the Liberation Day, which is pretty much the day of tariff, right? That's what he's supposed to be explaining all these tariffs that he putting on these countries to reciprocal tariffs is what he called them. Oh, sorry. If y'all hearing this echo, let me cut this down. Now, he did his speech. I'm assuming, how I was struggling. I tried to get through the speech. And the one thing that I would say that he's long-winded. Jim and I, we like to talk. Okay, he's long-winded, but I will fall asleep. It took me a couple of tries, but I got through it. And he do have a personality. People who know him personally says that besides the if you just get rid of the racism, he's a decent guy. The racism, misogynist, and he's a decent guy. He's pretty funny. And I'm watching speeches, and I'm like, yeah, he's pretty funny. He got some funny parts, and and the way he always bring it back to him, baby. I said one thing for certain, two things for sure. Donald Trump gonna find a way to bring that whatever that didn't happen back to him. Like, yeah, you see the weather, it didn't rain in Chicago today. That's because I had said, God, don't let it rain today. And God was like, all right, Trump, since you asked and you asked politely, so y'all can thank me later. The one funny thing that the first thing that I want to talk about is how they keep talking about how he brought down the price of eggs. And I said, if this ain't the oldest sale trick in the book, that I'm back before I continue talking. Looks like I'm back on my end. Let me check YouTube in. Okay, yeah. All right. So this price of egg stuff is hilarious if you follow the way it went. So now they're saying that the price of eggs was high, and it was high during the Biden administration, but then at the end of the Biden administration. But then once Trump took over, it went even higher. It was almost like here, it was almost $6. And with Biden, it was 450, close to about 450. I don't think it had hit 5 during Biden administration. Not here. Trump's it been like 6. So, and part of it, to be fair, part of it was because of the bird flu. But I'm like, why every time you get in the office, it's nature gets sick of your shit and cause some type of confinement. First, it was the Rona. Then it was now you got the blood for you. Even the birds are sick of you now. So, but the prices have went up since he got in. The prices of eggs have went up now because they're back down, and they're not even down to the price that it was when Biden was in office. He's taking credit for the price of eggs going down. I said, how you gonna take credit for something you caused? Like that's like the store having a sale and saying, okay, y'all, we in the price of eggs is $4. But they raised the price of eggs to $6. Then they like, you know what, we finna have a sale for $5. And you supposed to be like, oh, thank you so much because it's $5. Don't bring it back down to that $4 because I want me an omelet. Yeah, let me. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up. I was reading this article where Donald Trump was getting rid of, with the Trump administration, was getting rid of uh, these thousands of IRS employees, right? And his, I always try to look at both sides of it. So when his sides, the Republicans, are talking about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be a big benefit to the middle class people." of getting rid of these employees, these IRS employees, because they try to make it seem like because the more employees it was, there was more employees like looking at your taxes and they were taxing audit. That's what it was. That they was auditing the middle class more. So and they got rid of the employees, and this is a bit of big benefit to the middle class. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find it. But and that was the Republican side. So I read this article that was like the IRS is actually more beneficial to the mega rich because the mega rich owes the IRS all this money and they're just choosing not to pay for it. And so when you don't have the employees to pursue the people to get the payments for this money that they owe, then yeah, you may get a couple of audits on the middle class, which is like, oh, okay, the amount of money that a middle class person may owe in taxes compared to millions that a billionaire once you get or a millionaire once you get taxed or once you get audited, because if Donald Trump when he did release them taxes, what it was he had paid in taxes like $500 or something like that, but I'm gonna read this article so y'all can see the truth of it and not just my word that getting rid of the IRS workers is being my internet is going in and out and I don't know why because it's not even raining today. So I'm gonna cut it up. Let me see. I'll check throughout to see if y'all can hear me or not. Okay, there it is. Oh, and also I always be forgetting to say like the video as you come in. And let me cut these comments on. Okay. So y'all see this article, right? The title of it is Trump IRS cuts will make it easier for rich Americans to avoid paying what they owe. Layoff and spending cuts could fuel a drop of 10% in total tax revenue collected, according to the Washington Post. So experts saying staff cutting at the IRS will make it easier for wealthy tax evaders to avoid paying what they owe to the U.S. Treasury each year. In addition to costing the government billions, not millions, billions of dollars in old revenue. They says cuts by President Donald Trump administration will likely mean more audit for working Americans and worse customer service. So, like I said, it depending on if you watch Fox, and that's also a story that I want to talk about. It matters where we get our news from. It matters what journalists and what station and what newspaper that you read. Because if you watch Fox, they would definitely say that this tax cut is for the benefit of the working people. Now, we all gonna see how the cookie crumble, but let me continue reading. After years of underfunding and understaffing at the IRS, congressional Democrats and President Joe Biden agreed in 2022 to invest almost $80 billion to modernize the agency to crack down on wealthy tax invaders. Now, through legislation and executive action, Trump and his Republican allies are reversing that progress. What was the state of the IRS before 2022? Congress reduced annual appropriations for the IRS by about a quarter between 2010 and 2022, reducing funding for enforcement by 28%, according to the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center. Staffing at the agency dropped by 30%, with more than half of the drops occurring since 2010. With the insignificant funding for enforcement and customer service, a 2023 Pew Research poll found the agency was the one viewed most unfavorable by the American public. But I mean, who do like the IRS? That is no big news. The agency estimated that hundreds of millions of dollars was owed by wealthy individuals who had not filed tax return but said that it lacked the funding to collect those owed funds. So if you heard what I just said, they estimated millions of dollars by the wealthy people. They didn't even file their tax returns. They like, we know y'all ain't got enough people at the IRS to go trickle down into who have and who hadn't filed. So what the wealthies just wasn't filing their tax returns. And they estimated that they owed millions of dollars, but they didn't have enough people to go seek those people who owed the IRS money. In 2020, Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act, which included 80 billion over a decade in IRS funding. Half of the funding was designated to increase enforcement. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen directed that the money be used only to increase audit of large business and of individuals earning 40,000 or more annually, and predicted that audit rates for everyone else would decline as the agency better targeted its enforcement. So that's just proof that when you hear people say, "Oh, he's doing these cuts to the IRS and it's going to help the middle class," it is not. The money that was that Biden and the Democrats, this law that they had made, it gave, not law, this budget to increase funds to the IRS. The stipulation for the funds was that they could only target for audits big businesses and people making over $400,000 a year. So little penny pitchers like me was not getting audited. So the nonpartisan congressional budget predicted that 79.6 billion investment to the IRS would be more than offset by 203.7 billion. So they were saying that all that breaks down into there will be more money collected than spent out for these extra agencies. So they was giving them 80 billion in tax. They was giving them 80 billion to fund the IRS, but the IRS would collect, they estimated, around $204 billion. The Republicans criticized the progress. Taxpayers are not receiving the return on investment promised by the injections of billions of dollars to modernize the IRS. Republicans of the House said instead of taking advantage of efficiencies offered by new technologies, Democrats chose to allocate the majority of the 80 billion they gave the IRS to hire agency to hit more working families. But tax expert disagrees. The law paid immediately dividends. Last year, the agency collected over $1 billion from 1,600 millionaires who owed but had failed to pay at least $250,000 each. That's why they're getting rid of them agents. They're like, the money that the Democrats and Biden put into modernizing and updating the IRS, get more agents and updating the IRS, they end up collecting over $1 billion from millionaires, not working class, millionaires. Let's see. Republican in the Congress opposed the Inflation Act. They falsely claimed that it would fund an army of 87,000 new agents and have repeatedly attempted to undo it. The Trump administration of Doge has further pushed to slash IRS staffing, attempting to fire 6,700 new employees, coaxing 4,700 longtime employees to voluntarily quit, according to the internal document reviewed by CNN. These cuts would amount to 20% of the IRS workforce. The White House has touted its IRS cut. I think our objective is to make sure the employees that we pay are being productive and effective. Let's see. The Treasury Secretary is studying the matter. It feels like 3,500 is a small number and probably can get bigger, especially as we improve the IT at the IRS. I think one thing that's really important to remember is that 10% of the IRS employees are military veterans. And this is supposed to be the parties for the veterans. So what will the impact of staff cutting be for billionaires? CPO predicted on March 11th that the latest recession to IRS funding will result in less enforcement and less old revenue being collected by the wealthiest of Americans. So what they saying is they doing all this cutting, and all that's gonna do is that billion that they just got last year from the millionaires, they're not gonna be able to get it. Taken together, CBO estimate the reduction in revenues attributable to the look, I'm messing up all these words. Look, okay. The estimate is attributable to cumulative 20.2 billion withdrawal continued by this legislation, with total 1.7 in 2025, 38.2 billion over 2025 to 2029 period, and 65.8 billion over the 2025 to 2034 period. Okay. So they're saying that because of these cuts, that's the amount that they're going to lose. They're going to lose 1.7 billion this year, 38.2 billion over the next 4 years, and a total of 65.8 billion. The agency estimated there would be 500 billion in lost revenue, a drop of 10% in the total amount paid. This is just another example of Republicans protecting their billionaire. It should not be a matter of debate that wealthy people should pay the taxes that something that we're having to discuss. So yeah, that's just something I want to bring y'all with the cuts that's going on. With one of the cuts to the IRS. Because if initially I was like, well, shit, cut it. You need to cut it, but it's not going to benefit me. It's going to benefit the wealthy, just like everything else. Now I was sent this. This was a request for to talk about the outrage over the Cinderella. You know, the Cinderella is. I'm trying to see if I could pull up the video I was sent. The Cinderella is a. You know, they did the live version of Cinderella, and they used a non-white lady, a non-white actress, to play the part as Cinderella, and people are having a fit. And the movie did not make nowhere. I don't think it was even close to what they projected for the movie to make, because there was so much controversy over. I don't know why I'm so tongue tied today. Over the fact that it wasn't a crystal white person playing, playing the part of Cinderella, and they like, well, she's supposed to be in the books. It says she's supposed to be white as snow, and she not white as snow. She a little olive. And so, you know, just like everything else, then people began to have a people racists began to have a began to have a fit for the fact because of the fact that Cinderella wasn't paid by a white person. Let me see. I am trying to pull up the video right now. I thought I had it loaded. But this is the comedian Bill Burr response to the video. You know, one of my favorite jokes that Bill Burr has is he was telling the story about him being on the New York train station and the crazy things that goes on the New York train station. He said the one thing that he likes about the black people, you don't even have to know them, but if you if somebody on the train, if a white person or non-black on the train calls the black person the n-word, every black person on that train gonna have something to say. He said, but him, man, that's not what I was looking for. He said, but him as a white man, if a black person get in there and call him a cracker, he said all the white people gonna turn their head, they gonna look out the window, and he said he had seen it happen, and the black person was just like, "You cracker ass, cracker, cracker ass, cracker." But okay, let me show y'all this because this is what I was saying. So I told you, y'all send me stuff, baby. We gonna talk about it. We gonna discuss it because this all show. Talk about what y'all want to talk about.
The biggest fucking babies also is fucking hilarious. Have you seen this fucking my people, Whitey? We're all fucking upset. There's enough of us to get it going trending anyway. We're upset about the new Cinderella movie. The actress playing Cinderella isn't white. There's no prince. They changed the story. What am I going to tell my kids? The shit that my people get upset about. What am I going to tell my kids? Well, fucking talk around it the way we talk around the real history of this country. I think you can do that for you can talk around fucking genocide and slavery. I think you can talk around a stupid fucking
Right. The same way y'all can say those was workers instead of slaves, baby. You're very creative when you want to be, when it benefits you. You're very creative of saying that.
movie about some broad who didn't exist. You can't do that. Go take him to go see fucking Pinocchio. I don't like Pinocchio because that fucking wooden puppet transitions into a real boy. First of all, I don't like trans people, and God only makes real boys, not some immigrant named Geppetto.
He go and he get another example of. Let's see. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up. I'm trying to fast forward it. He gonna give another example of people going nuts over. Now I don't play video games, and so I hadn't heard about this until I watched this video. But there's I want to say it's Call of Duty. He's gonna say it, but there's some video games that now includes a black person. So everybody is in an uproar, or not everybody. The racists are in an uproar because and refusing to play the game because it's a black person. I knew at some point. Hello. I said hello. Like I was talking on the phone. Yeah, I knew at some point this doggone thing was gonna do that. I had to log out and go back in to make sure that I am up here and that y'all can hear me. Yeah, I think it's coming back up now. Yeah, okay. Now, I'm hoping y'all heard the Bill Murray part. Let me see. Did y'all hear the Bill Murray part? Because if Bill Murray was saying that how the pretty much the racist people is upset about the Cinderella, and then this guy is going to show you how there's a video game that includes a black character. Now everybody is so upset this video game includes a black character. So and a gamer was on their planet, and so this is him going off on his people because of the comments that's going on about him playing the game. So I'm gonna see if I could get to that and want to start it right at that part. I don't know why it's buffering. But that's a gamer who's going off on his subscribers because they're upset that he's playing the Assassin's Creed game, and I'm assuming that the Assassin's Creed game has a black character. So now his subscribers are upset about it. If I can get it, maybe I was trying to make it big so y'all can see, but maybe it's because of that.
That there's a black guy in Assassin's Creed. So shut the fuck up. All right? We're not doing this shit. It's a fucking video game. If you are upset that there's a black guy in a video game, fuck off.
Good.
I don't want you here. I don't care. Stop. I'm not doing this fucking argument. Every goddamn game these days. Oh, it's woke. Oh, there's a black guy. Oh, there's a trans person. Shut the fuck up. Either play the game or go the fuck outside, bro. It's not that hard. God damn. I've been on this earth 37 fucking years. When I was a kid, guess what? If a game came out and I didn't want to get involved with it, I didn't fucking play with it. I didn't go on the internet and cry like an entitled little child. Wah, 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 wah. The game doesn't have stuff that I want. So shut the fuck up and leave, bro. Are you that much of a fucking loser that you're seeking out streams of a game you don't like just to be like, wah, I don't like this. There's a black guy.
Let him cook.
What the fuck up? Nobody cares. Comment. Any fucking comment. I'm just going to ban you. I don't care. I'm just fucking ban you. I don't care. I don't have time for it, bro. I'm here to play a fucking game. Listen to you cry about a black dude that existed in history that was brought over to Japan as a slave and then taken on by Nobunaga and made a fucking retainer. All right. If that upsets you, if that makes you not feel like you're in your special place, that's not my fucking problem. Go talk to your therapist about it.
That was incredible. And Cowboy went massively viral for that rant because it resonated. This is
what I
with
don't
people.
get. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. I told you I don't play the video games. I don't know him, and I was sent this by a subscriber. I don't even know the guy who's talking about it right now. But this is what struck me about this. When we talk about that the racists get mad when you change out a character and put in a character, put in an actor or actress of color, like they did with the Little Mermaid, like they did with the Brandy Cinderella. Y'all don't get upset when they got y'all in these Egyptian movies, when they have y'all in the African movies, when they have y'all as the last samurai, when they have y'all playing you the only white person that's in this old Asian movie, but you the top of the karate and all that. Y'all ain't one bit upset. Not one. And those weren't y'all parts, but y'all was happy to take it and was happy, well, not the actors, but y'all was happy to see those white faces in on white places, even though it should have been somebody. But you was happy there. And then I don't understand what y'all so upset about. As well as everybody is. Typically when we take some, we make it better. Y'all know that Brandy, the Cinderella and the all the singing and stuff in there. Baby, one of the best Cinderellas y'all done seen. You're welcome. The Wizard of Oz and the Wiz, you're welcome. Okay? You didn't think we touch, we make it better. Did you see basketball before we get up in there? Did you see baseball before Jackie came? And I was just having a conversation with me, my husband and his best friend. And we was talking about I don't know why we was talking about it, but we was talking about the basketball shorts and how little them little shorts used to be. And then when the blacks came, they had to make it longer. And, you know, I'm assuming for one reason they had to make it longer. But did you see how much better that game is now that we up in it? You're welcome, okay? NFL, welcome. Y'all ain't complaining about nothing like that. Like, why is there so many black people on this basketball team? Why does the NFL have so many blacks? You ain't complain nothing about that. How about y'all to take the roles for the slavery movies and pretend like y'all getting whipped and stuff? And then we could call it even. I don't like. I remember what's the the news, very Republican MAGA person who was like, everybody knows Santa is white. This is imaginary characters that you're getting your pennies in a bunch about. That they have to be white. I think D.L. Hughley said it the best of when it came to the Little Mermaid. On that voyage over here, and how many Africans you didn't threw down in that ocean, and then you surprised that one of them came out black. Let's see. I think this is another gamer who had the same backlash about him playing a game. Let me see if I can get it. About him playing a game because the person in the game was black. They changed the character.
He was doing where he had to avoid the elephant in the room. Just look at this short clip.
You plan on beating Shadow?
Once again, people are sick of this shit, including some of the peddlers of anti-woke outrage themselves. And I say this because Asmongold, a gaming streamer who's unfortunately become one of the largest right-wing political channels on YouTube, well, he was playing Assassin's Creed himself on stream, and he liked it. And it was clear that his audience wasn't getting what they expected from him. They wanted him to shit on the game for being woke, but he wasn't doing that because he enjoyed the game. So what resulted was this hilarious tap dance that he was doing where he had to avoid the elephant in the room. Just look at this short clip.
You plan on beating Shadows? Yeah, sure, I'll beat the game. Why wouldn't I? Don't force yourself to? No, I'm not. I've been enjoying this. I've been enjoying this.
So clearly he's afraid of the audience that he cultivated, which is funny to me. But at the end of the day, it just goes to show you that nonstop outrage is not sustainable. Certainly it can be effective in some ways, but you've got to pick and choose your battles wisely. And the right has not done that because they're not good at reading the room. They never have been able to read the room because they're out of touch, they're clueless, and they just have one political project, which is to distract people so they can get in office and gut the government and give tax cuts to rich people. So whatever they can say.
And I just said the tax cut when I'm talking about the IRS getting rid of that will benefit the wealthy, the rich, not us, y'all. So what else did y'all want to talk about? Let's talk about these tariffs. What's hilarious about these tariffs, right? If you've seen the Liberation Day and the way that Donald Trump, he went and did his speech to announce all these tariffs that he's imposing. Now, basically, tariffs is just layman's term. Tariffs is taxes. So I want to say it used to be called import levy. It used to be called something else, but it's pretty much the tax that the company who receives the good pays when the product comes overseas. So if it's an American company, we're getting shipped something from China. China's ship it and charge the company whatever it is they charging them. Once it crosses overseas and make it to America, the company who's receiving it, the American company, have to pay the taxes to receive the product for importing goods. Now, when you think about it in basic terms, you're like, okay, and then that money goes to the government. So what then pretty much happens, that's how Trump is saying he's going to get all this money and it's going to make life easier. We're going to have to pay less taxes because all these companies are going to, these countries are going to pay what they owe. But tariffs are going to be on American countries. And I don't know no company who's going to be like, you know what, let me eat this extra cost and give my customers a discount. Probably that's what majority of people are saying. That's why you hear so much talk of inflation, because they're saying companies are just going to charge the customers, their American customers, more for the product instead of eating the cost of the tariffs. Trump is saying that he want to incentivize these companies to buy from the U.S. instead of buying from China. And to me, that's going to take time, right? Because a lot of the stuff that they're getting from China or wherever they're getting it from, China, Canada is a big place that they're talking about the tariffs with. And they saying, so if these, you're getting this stuff from Canada and China, as Trump says, and they say, oh, well, this is going to make them build factories and things of that in America. But we all know how long it takes for a company to build a factory. Like this ain't gonna be overnight. So what happens until that time comes? And that's why the Republican keep repeating the same phrase that it's gonna be, stressful for a little bit. Even yesterday when he announced the tariff, he had, I want to say, a union worker, an automobile union worker, come and speak. And he said, oh, maybe 6 months to a year, it may be a little tough, but then it's gonna be this big boom. As an American, I hope so. I hope that it be this big boom. I hope we start making all this money and jobs and all this other stuff. But all the economists are like, yeah, and it's highly unlikely like that these companies are gonna uh, pay for factories and stuff here. It's more likely that they would just offset the cost to the customer, like because they don't even know compared to, because if it's a company, they started getting it from China and stuff for a reason. It was cheaper to get it from there, so they're gonna go about which money, which one's gonna save them the most amount of money. So is it going to benefit them more to to build these buildings and hire all these employees, or would it be more beneficial for them to just have the customer pay the tariff? That's the big debate. That's what we're going to wait and see, because we'll see. Now, if y'all seen his yesterday, he had this graph of all these tariffs and how much how much these other countries are charging America, and now America is going to start charging them, reciprocal tariffs is what he called it. And so when he went through the list, he was like, oh, they're charging us 90, we're going to charge them 45, they're charging us this amount, we're going to charge them this amount. So he went through this list of what we pay other countries. Now, one thing that I will say, from the little research that I have done, and I told y'all I'm not an expert, that list was garbage. Even from when he was saying it, what Canada charged the US 250% on dairy, right? That been his big thing. The reason why he going after Canada. They charge us 250% on dairy. Now, I have heard it from the Republicans and the Democrats that portion of what he said is true, but it's not really true. That they charge 250% on dairy, tariffs on dairy, but the way that it works is that it's a stipulation that they only charge that after they after you done bought a certain amount, and that amount is never met. So it'd be like, yeah, we charge 250%, but that's after you buy a million units of dairy. And nobody never meets or come close to meeting a million units. So nobody has never charged the 250% of tariff that he keep talking about. So that's the second things that's going on. The other one is the tariffs. Republican and Democrat both agreed they don't know how he got these numbers and where he getting these percentage from, as far as the percent of tariff that he planned to charge, that they're charging the US, and what he plans to charge them. You heard this 90%. So what he did was, and I don't know how he did this because there's no tariff even in his calculation. The way he calculated it was he took the amount that say China. He took the amount that of goods China buys from us, and he compared it to the amount of goods that we buy from them. He took those total, not tariffs that we pay, amount of goods that's sent in and out from each country. He took those totals and he subtracted and got a number that says like we spend 200 more million than they spend, over in their country than they spend with our country. Then he took that number and like divided it over a total, and that's where the 90% comes from. Everybody like, what? I'm gonna have this guy explain it to y'all better.
What the president was holding up in the Rose Garden. It's a list of countries and the tariffs he is imposing on those countries. There are questions about how the Trump administration arrived at those tariffs on said countries in the first place. So let's try to explain. Phil Mattingly is here. Walk us to the list that they have and the tariffs that are happening.
And
now.
by the way, if you're watching and looking, you're not supposed to understand what this means. In fact, that's
That makes
kind
me
of
feel
part of
better.
the play here. But let me explain what it actually means, because I think, as Dana was pointing out, the critical question yesterday when we were looking at the chart and when we were actually looking at the numbers, like the 34% number is the actual tariff that the U.S. is putting on China, adding others on top of it, stacking them together. And how they got there, given the fact it didn't correlate with the actual tariffs we know China has on the U.S. or any other country has on the U.S., was a real question everybody's trying to figure out, particularly because they are so high and they are so dramatic. So let's take Vietnam. You mentioned Vietnam earlier in the show, which is obviously a huge exporter to the United States because U.S. people buy Vietnamese goods. What does it actually mean? Trading between the U.S. and Vietnam is based on 2024 census data, which is the data that was utilized to come up with the calculation. Vietnam exports $136.6 billion in goods to the U.S. The U.S. exports $13.1 billion.
And before he continues, look at what he's saying. This is the amount of goods. This is not tariffs. This is the amount of goods.
Dollars in goods to Vietnam. Now, how did they get to the 90%, which they cut in half to 46%? What they did is they subtracted the Vietnamese goods bought by the U.S., 136.6 billion, total U.S. goods bought by Vietnam, and ended up with 123.5 billion. Now, the way they actually got to the 90% number is they did 123.5 divided by 136.6, which equals 0.90 or 90%.
And then half of that.
And then because of the benevolence of President,
As you can see, all he did was took the difference that in spending divided by the total that the U.S. spends over in that country, and that's how he got 90%. It has nothing to do with the tariffs that they are charging us. Because some of countries, and what set the alarms off is that some countries we have a free trade system with. So when he put up this graph, and the economists know that there's no tariff being paid with those countries one way or the other. So how you saying reciprocal tariff is 30% when they don't charge us and we don't charge them? And so that's why everybody got to looking at that list like,
President Trump, as he kind of laid it out, then they cut that in half. Now, the big question, of course, is that's not necessarily a number or a methodology that economists could identify with. In fact, the most interesting moment of the night, throughout the course of the night last night, was economists of all sides, all ideologies, Republican and Democrat, staring at the methodology and saying, that's not how this is supposed to work. It underscores, though, trade deficits in the mind of the president, but also in the mind of his team, are absolutely essential to how they view things and the view that they don't think any of those economists, Republican or Democrat, have gotten it right up to this point, and they're going a different route.
And that's what this, first of all, don't get rid of that yet, because I'm not going to have to call you out on this.
Yeah, what do I do?
I have terrible handwriting. What is this?
That's a 9.
Okay.
Obviously.
And what's happening over
So
here?
0.9,
Okay.
which then goes to, in my head, it
Sorry,
made a lot of sense.
I couldn't help myself.
That's fine. That's fair.
But the fairness question.
Yeah.
That is, we talked about this earlier in the show, that is the kind of North Star for Donald Trump that is driving all of this trade policy that he has wanted to do and now he is doing. And that helps answer the why to this formula that you just laid out for our viewers.
What's most important is when the president said he loves reciprocity and would say it over and over again, sometimes say it in hushed tones, he framed things as if it was a tariff for tariff type of deal. What he wanted to do is if Vietnam has X tariff on X product to the that the U.S. is exporting to them, we are going to match that 1-to-1. That's not what happened. And I think this is important to note here because in the executive order that laid out the pathway where we landed yesterday, they made clear it wasn't just about tariffs, it was about non-tariff barriers. In fact, when you talk to Trump's economic team, they focus on that far more than they focus on the actual tariffs themselves by product. Here's the other issue. Doing tariff by tariff calculations, product by product for any nation, particularly 185, almost impossible given the timeline they were working with, and they got at that last night. The USTR, in the statement laying out the methodology, said while individually computing the trade deficit effects of tens of thousands of tariff, regulatory, tax, and other policies in each country is complex, if not impossible, they thought this was the best way to get at the most central issue for them in their minds. The reality is, no one could really.
So he's pretty much promised to do something that is not even possible to do. But since he told y'all, he's like, I'm finna, somebody print my graph. I got to go point at something.
Identify with a linear methodology how to define non-tariff barriers for every single country in different regions that do different products. They also need a lot of staff to do something like this. That's why I say, if not impossible.
And a lot of staff. How y'all cutting staff are gonna add a staff for these to try to do this calculation to for tariffs? Where's Doge when you need them? Doge must get on your job.
You saw the methodology. Economists scoff at it, but it is the reality, and it's now the basis for the 60 countries that are being hit with reciprocal tariffs.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for explaining that, Phil.
Well, we knew tariffs were coming, but now that we know specifics, shockwaves are rippling through the global economy and American businesses. Restoration Hardware's CEO Gary Friedman was in the middle of his quarterly earnings call when the tariff news broke, and this is what he said. O expletive starts with an S. You can guess it, as he watched the company's stock plunge. He's not alone in that sentiment, though. Mark Zandi from Moody's Analytics used more words. He's sounding the alarm, saying if the administration follows through on these higher tariffs without significant carve-outs, it's going to be very difficult for the economy to digest this. A recession seems more likely than not. Now, to be clear, a recession doesn't happen overnight. So let's look at previous recessions since the 1950s. You could see the unofficial definition of a recession is back-to-back quarterly contractions in real gross domestic product. But even that isn't a guarantee because economic data is constantly.
So they go on to explain what a recession is, and because people are now predicting that we will fall into a recession, and what you pretty much end up saying that if we fall into a recession, we're not going to know right away because that's at most companies, it's a quarter by quarter, and so once that quarter is over, you go back and look at the last quarter, so you won't know right away because you got to wait a couple of quarters out to even see that you're in a recession. I mean, we gonna feel it. We gonna be over here with these high costs and inflation, and we gonna feel like we're in a recession, but it won't be an official recession. And with the Trump administration, I wouldn't doubt that they'll never say it. They still ain't admitting that this group text message was of classified information and that it should have never been sent. They just like, So you think they finna admit that they done fell into a recession doing this tariff stuff? Highly doubt it, y'all. Highly doubt. Trump, the dude shouldn't be. My name Bennett, and I ain't in it. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, I didn't. It was Biden. Biden and I said we should play a game on his next speech, and every time he say Biden, we take a shot. Y'all there for that? Because he's gonna say it. He's gonna say Biden at least one. He's saying it less now, I think, because he's in office and he can't. Everybody but you in office now. So, but when he first got in there, baby, he used to say Biden, 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 constantly. Okay, y'all. I think that is it for the day. Oh, it was this song, but I'll do it. No, I'm gonna do it now because this is actually something that somebody else sent. So I'm probably gonna get struck for this. I don't know if this. Well, I'm not monetized, but wait. This ain't even the song. This lady, right? She's a black MAGA, right? But she went on TikTok and saying, I need y'all to, come out and march and stuff for my son because he's been getting tried. He's tried, I guess he got arrested or something like that. Now, when she's doing the talk, baby, she all in blue and everything. But you know how TikTok users is, how the internet be interneting. They went and looked at her old post, baby. She was in all red, had to Make America Great Again, had everything. Hopefully I can get this to play for y'all because I was like, no, she did try to play in her face like that.
He is currently facing 21 years of incarceration due to racial injustice.
Oh my God. It's terrible.
I don't know why is this.
Wait, this you?
MAGA family, AFF family, Trump
Let me see if I
supporters.
can
Oh my
rewind
God, I
it.
done
Because,
found my tribe.
here it
I
is.
just need you guys' support in helping to free my son. My son is 23 years old, and he is currently facing 21 years of incarceration due to racial injustice.
Oh my God. That's terrible. Wait, this you?
MAGA family, AFF family, Trump supporters. Oh my God, I done found my tribe.
Well, I'm going to hold your hand with a napkin in between when I say this. Go ask your tribe. Because us over here, the 92%, we attended the cookout with Kamala on November 5th. But you, with the other 8%, wanted to go to the picnic, and now you're upset because your son is the Nick they picked? I'm not understanding. The switch up is crazy. Now you're wearing blue. You're using blue hearts. You're talking about some free the masses. You're using the black power fist. Stink a butt. Call it a J-Lo concert ticket. No one's buying it. You are getting exactly what you voted for. You voted for the racist felon, and they say, you know what? Let's double it and give it back to her. So now you got 4 more years, and your son is facing 21. The 2-for-1 felon deal goes great. Because, girl, what did you think was going to happen? The leader of your tribe was going to give your son a pardon too? Didn't nobody tell you that was an all-white party? Unfortunately, there's been a tariff placed on thoughts and prayers, so I don't have those for you. But maybe it's time to put back on your cape. You know, this one?
Hey, girl, get it, get it. Uh-huh. Go on, your
It's time
crap.
to stay at the J-A-I-L. Or whatever the song said, girl. I don't know. Peace and love. Talk to you later.
I found that hilarious. Not if her son was committed, but you trying to come over here now? Going back to who you had the alliances with, baby.
You having an unnatural allegiance to losers is not like you.
Hey, don't try to come over here now. And now you want to wear blue and all that. Girl, if you don't sit down somewhere, you make us all look bad.
It's you to make it hard for women like me.
That's what I wanted to do to her. That right there. Coming over here with that bullshit. It reminded me of the TikTok I played yesterday. Because she going with the blue and like, I need y'all to come with me. And we got us about the march. And then our ancestors said, sit your black ass down. Good. Thank you for the video, lady, for telling us. But this is the song. This is the song that one of the subscribers sent me, and I want to play it for y'all because this song is fast and it's my new favorite song. If I can get up in here. Come on now. It's making me do all this. Hopefully it'll let me log in. I tried to log in earlier, but this internet was acting a fool. Let's see. Is it gonna play? Is it gonna play? Oh, I got to let y'all hear it.
Skin got fire in my soul. Move like a goddess, yeah, that's how I roll. From my hips to my crown, I don't break, I don't bend. They try to copy, but they can't comprehend. I built empires, I birthed kings. Walk through the storm, still do big things. They love my curves, they love my stance. They love my magic, it's a whole romance. You can never, I don't chase, I don't fold, I don't bow, I don't break. You can try, you can watch, but you'll never take my place. Stamp that, I'm a phenomenal black woman built from the best. Walk with grace, move with finesse. Drip like diamond, shine like gold. If you didn't know savage, built straight from the throne. They try to mimic, but they lack the shine. Cause what we got, it's one of a kind. Ain't no struggle that could break my stride. Ain't no limits when I set my sights. I take up space, I own my name. If you forgot, let me say it again. Oh, they heard you now. Black like honey, sweet but strong. Black like magic, been here all along. Black like history, black like grace. Black like power you can't erase. Give them chills, bestie. Make it louder, make it bigger. I'm a phenomenal black woman, built from the best. Walk with grace, move with finesse. Drip like diamonds, shine like gold. If you didn't know, baby, now you know. I'm a phenomenal black woman, top tier unmatched. When I step in, the whole world reacts. Ain't no stopping, ain't no doubts. We've been that.
Yeah. So that was the song. And I want to thank you for sending it to me because I enjoyed it, because I sure will be playing it. It's going to be my morning motivation. I'm going to see if I can get it as a sound of my alarm. So when I wake up in the morning, okay? I think that was it for today, y'all. Let me get on up out of here because I need to help my daughter study for a test that she's having tomorrow, and she has basketball practice. So let me go and get that done. Thank y'all for watching. Just trying to leave and this thing gonna blank out on me. Subscribe to the channel if you like. Same time, same place.